Now, here's your host, Johnnette Williams.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams, very happy to be with you today. I certainly am. Why? Because this is the day the Lord has made, and what are we going to do? We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Oh, my goodness. It brings God such pleasure when we rejoice and are glad in the day that He has entrusted to us. And He expects for us to receive all of those spiritual blessings that He's always pouring down upon us. So, let's just make a little promise to each other that we're going to keep our hearts wide open to receive all of the favors, divine and holy favors, which are called graces, that flow from the heavenlies into our lives. We always have to be looking for them because sometimes, they're very, very subtle. Other times they're, great, big, and very, very in your face. But most of the time, they come just like the word of God usually comes on a gentle little breeze, meaning in a whisper. But if we're attentive, oh my goodness, we'll reap the benefit of each and every one of them. We certainly will. It's a Wednesday. You know what that means. Sue Brinkman is with us for our Wacky Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the weird and the wacky today. So we want you to call us with any questions or comments that you might have about the weird and the wacky, things that you're seeing going on in your own community, perhaps within your own circle of friends that you would like some clarification on. It's a day that we really head into the New Age movement. We head into the three tributaries that basically comprise it, which is Western occultism, Eastern Oriental mysticism, and the human potential movement. And we try to, uncover some of these traps that the evil one is setting up for us. We certainly don't want to fall into them. So let me give you the number so you can get right out there and make use and advantage of it right away. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. We're inviting you to give us a call. And we're also available for you as well on social media. Simply go out to EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and or Facebook page. Use the chat feature there. Put in your question, comment, insight, inspiration, or word of encouragement, and we'll get it retrieved and up on the board. Matthew Gubensky is on the phones. Michael McCall out there doing the retrieving. It's social media. It's what ties us all together and makes us this beautiful, beautiful mystical body of Christ, right? Using the airwaves for His honor and for His glory. Well, I'm all excited. I don't know if you can hear the excitement in my voice. I'm all excited because I'm heading out today. Where am I going? I am going up to Malvern, Pennsylvania, flying into Philly and into a car and on my way up to Malvern. We are beginning with our Women of Grace annual retreat at Malvern Retreat House tomorrow with the Benedicta Enrichment Seminar. So excited. Do want to tell you that there is still time to register. We're approaching, the greatest number that we want to hold. We do like to keep it in a somewhat sizable fashion. We're almost to the maximum, but we still have a couple of seats available. And I want to tell you that we've had women signing up as recently as this morning. So you can sign up and join us there. It's going to be a beautiful opportunity for you to dig deeply into, I think, a fascinating topic, women mystics and the divine life within. We're going to be talking about some of the women mystics throughout time. And here, of course, we're talking about saints. We're talking about religious women for the most part who have experienced this profound outpouring of God's grace in a mystical fashion. Is it just for them or is it for all of us? Well, I think I'm fairly safe in saying that God doesn't give us a gift that He wants us to keep to ourselves. So the gift that He's given to these beautiful saints, He wants for us to explore, understand, and enter into. And that's what we will be doing with our guest presenter, Chris McGregor. I'm eager to see her. As a matter of fact, we'll be flying at about the same time, so we'll be driving together in the car. Chris is a fascinating woman. Really just a treasure, I think, in so many ways. And I am just delighted that she's going to be presenting this Benedicta Enrichment Seminar. So I want to encourage you, get out to our website, click on it. It's right there on the homepage. It'll take you to a landing page. You'll see register. You'll still be able to register. I checked it out. Yesterday, I wasn't so sure. I checked it out. You absolutely can still register. So I'm inviting you to register for the Benedicta Enrichment Seminar. and for the retreat that begins on Friday. It begins on Friday evening, Divine Mercy, Crucible of New Life. That is the theme. Father Ken Geraci will be with us. He'll be presenting and also offering the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass for us and hearing confession. He is going to be unpacking for us the Divine Mercy messages, revelations that Jesus gave to St. Faustina, especially in light of spiritual warfare. It's going to be a very important topic. We're going to be digging deeply into the whole concept of divine mercy. Father Chris Alar, many of you are familiar with Father Chris. We have a beautiful video presentation that he is going to be sharing with us, unpacking the image for us. I'm going to be presenting on the divine mercy. I'm going to be taking a look at divine mercy throughout time. And then, what is it saying to us with regard to our day and time? And how is it that this Eucharistic presence of our Lord is so deeply attached to divine mercy? We'll be getting into all of that. Chris McGregor is going to be giving us a talk on the mysticism of St. Faustina during our retreat. So come to the Benedicta, come to the retreat. If you can't come to both, come to the one that you can come to. You can still register. Again, we had people registering for the retreat as late or as early, however you want to look at it, as this morning. So there is still an opportunity for you. If you've been sitting on the fence, this is the time to get off of the fence and to get under the spout where the glory pours out, and it's going to be pouring out right there at Malvern Retreat House beginning tomorrow, running through Sunday. Susan Potvin of Living Praise is going to be with us. She and her whole worship team will be with us. She'll be doing a presentation on praise and worship. Why is that so important? We will also be regaled by their beautiful, beautiful gift of ministry through music as they lead us into prayer, as they lead us into praise throughout the course of the weekend. And I want to tell you that in addition to all of that, we're going to have a healing service. So it just keeps getting better, doesn't it? It just keeps getting better. We're going to have a Young Women of Grace Day that's going to take place on Saturday. The young women will have their own event. Divine Mercy in You is the theme for that. Presentations will be made by all of the presenters, I think with the exception of Chris McGregor. She's going to have to leave just a little early, but the rest of us will be presenting to the young women, and they will be involved in crafts that explore the Divine Mercy, all kinds of fun activities. If you bring your daughter from a distance, say you hear this right now and you say, listen, I'm going to drive in from Pittsburgh, or I'm going to drive in from Scranton, or I'm going to drive in from Cleveland, I'm going to drive in from Cincinnati, I'm going to drive in from up there in New Jersey. I'm going to come in from Connecticut. It's not that far. If you make a decision that you want to come and you want to bring your daughter, she is welcome to attend our Friday night, and she is welcome to attend our Sunday morning and then be with the girls on Saturday. So it's very inclusive in that way. It's going to be lovely, wonderful, and great. So do get out there, sign up, join us. We're eager to see you. Sue Brinkman is also going to be there. Yes, she is. So I'm looking forward to having you come up to her and say, hey, I really love Wacky Wednesday, or hey, I got a question for you. Although I shouldn't say that, right, Sue? She'll get buttonholed. All of that being said, inviting you to join us, right? When we come back from our break, Sue Brinkman will be with us. She will be answering your questions today. Give us a call here, 833-288-EWTN, toll free for you right here in North America. Or EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page is available too. Use the chat feature. First timer, either way, let us know and we'll ring our bell for your debut. Coming right back. Stay tuned.
Starting Monday, EWTN Radio Essentials becomes EWTN Radio Extra. It's the past, present, and future of Catholic radio. You'll hear classic programs from Mother Angelica and Dr. Scott Hahn, plus timeless devotionals and award-winning podcasts from our partners on EWTN's Podcast Central. Starting Monday, listen to EWTN Radio Extra on the EWTN app, on smart speakers, and on EWTN.com.
carry the faith wherever you go. Watch your favorite EWTN show, series, or special, or listen to your favorite EWTN radio program at any time, day or night. EWTN On Demand brings all your favorites instantly. Download the EWTN app at EWTNapps.com today.
Join us for our Women of Grace Retreat, Divine Mercy, Crucible of New Life at the Malvern Retreat House, June 28th through 30th. Together, we will discover the depth of God's mercy and love for us, His worthy daughters. Learn about the Divine Mercy image and the mysticism of St. Faustina. Understand what spiritual warfare has to do with Divine Mercy and how praying the chaplet converts souls. Registration for the weekend includes presentations with Johnnette Williams, Father Ken Geraci, and Chris McGregor, music with Living Praise Worship Team, a Saturday evening healing service, accommodations, meals, and fellowship with Sisters in Christ. For more information and to register, go to womenofgrace.com. Register your daughter for the Young Women of Grace Retreat Day on June 29th, Divine Mercy in You, a fun day for teen girls. Come early for the Benedicta Enrichment Seminar led by Chris McGregor and learn about the divine life within women mystic saints. Register for all this at womenofgrace.com.
You hear that scary music, and it lets you know that this is Wacky Wednesday with Sue Brinkman. She is going to take your questions today about all of the weird and the wacky that you see going on. It just doesn't stop. I mean, it's almost as if the portals were opened up and we're being flooded, inundated with all kinds of bizarre thoughts, ideologies, concepts, practices, belief systems. Oh my goodness, they're all right there in front of our face. How do we sort our way through them? How do we determine what is what is compatible with the revealed truth of sacred scripture and the teachings of the church and what is not? And it is to that end that we have this program. So I invite you on Wednesday to give us a call. It's Wednesday, our Wednesday feature. We talk about all of these things. 833-288-EWTN is the way that you can join us today. That's 833-288-3986. Just pick up the phone and give us a call. We'll get you up on the board here. We'll be chit-chatting with you really soon, so we invite you to use that number. It's toll-free for you here in North America, 833-288-EWTN. Also available for you out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Simply use the chat feature. Put in your question, comment, insight, inspiration, or word of encouragement. We'll get it retrieved and up on the board. We will address it. We have Matthew Gabensky, who is out there answering our phone. We've got Michael McCall out there retrieving your questions. And we have the one and the only Rich Jesse right there in the studio on the campus of EWTN making this program happen for you, as well as the good guys and gals there in TOC. Well, Sue Brinkman, welcome, welcome.
Oh, so good to be back.
Yes, I'm so excited. There's so much that is happening right now. Is in the good. We concentrate oftentimes on that which is not so good. But the fact of the matter is God is about a great work today. And there's one we think that's going to be taking place right there at Malvern Retreat House. And I know we're very, very thrilled about it all.
Yes, it's going to be a beautiful time. It's absolutely gorgeous up here right now. We have a little bit of a heat wave today, but that's going away. And it's going to be beautiful, beautiful weather up here for the entire time that we're here. And you're right about that. We have a lot of very, very good things going on. And I just always remember scripture. It pumps me up with hope. Where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. And that's true. That is very, very true. So we may not see it right in our immediate circle, but God is at work. He is at work out in this world, and it's not nearly as desperate as it might seem. But that doesn't mean that we, slacken off in our prayer. We've got to pray night and day for this world. But these prayers, He's answering them. He is making good on a lot of the things that we pray for. And I think that people just need to keep that up. Just imagine what the world would be like if we weren't praying like that.
That's right.
How much worse it would be. So keep up those prayers.
I think about the fact that, our God is a God of revelation, meaning that he wants for us to know who he is. But he's a God of revelation in another way as well. He wants for us to know what is true, what is good, what is beautiful, and what is not. And so we tend to look at all of this that we're seeing happening, both within our political world as well as in our social world, our cultural world, even within the context of our church, right? And we see these things bubbling up and being exposed. And sometimes we think, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Everything, we're all just certainly heading towards hell. All is terrible. But it's like a cancer, right? If it goes undiagnosed, it has the chance of eating the entire body. But when it's brought into the light of day, when it's diagnosed and we can see what it is, why then we can apply the proper kinds of remedies that are necessary to bring healing and new life. And so when we see all of this being revealed, we have to understand that this is a good thing. This is a very good thing because now we can see it, right? Now we can work with it. Now we can apply the measures that are necessary to resolve it. But if it remains hidden, we don't know. So even in looking at the landscape of today, where, yes, we can see the diabolic at work in so many ways and on so many different levels. This is a good thing because the evil one is no longer hidden, working in the shadows. We have a vision to be able to see into those shadows and expose what's going on.
That is such a good point, Johnnette. And it's one of the things that's what motivates us, isn't it? I mean, we know that my people perish for lack of information. Isn't that what we read in Scripture?
Yeah.
We're giving out information, and what we're trying to give it to people, they can use this now to discern what is going on in this day and age. And that's why I think what we're doing here is so very important, because we're one of the few people, number one, who does it, and number two, it's just an easy place for people to go. We're right on the internet. I mean, you just go to newage.womenofgrace.com and you're right into our New Age blog. You can look up whatever it is you're interested in. And I just think that we have to give people this information so that these are ways that we're exposing evil. We're shining a light on him. He always wants to work in the shadows. He doesn't want you to know it's him. He always disguises himself as something good. What we're trying to do is shine that light in there to show, oh, no. Here's what's behind the screen. This is what's going on behind the screen. Yep. And there's a lot of things out there that you'd be surprised that you find. You look behind it, you think, wait a minute, this isn't that great, is it? I come across that all the time. I look at things that seem harmless on the surface. And then when I start to dig, I look around at that tree that I use to determine, is it a tree of good and evil? What is the fruit that's coming off that tree? Boy, the minute you start looking it up, stuff happens. You start to find things out.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, the way that I got involved in doing this research all those many years ago was all the way back in 1987. And I've shared this story in the past, but I was up here at EWTN. Mother had made the editing facility here at EWTN available to me to edit this video footage that I had attained. And the guest on the Mother Angelica show for that particular evening was a woman by the name of Constance Cumby. And when Constance came back to the guest house, I asked her what the topic was, and she said the New Age movement. Well, Sue, I got to tell you, I didn't know what she was talking about. Well, she shared with me about it, and the conversation lasted into the wee hours of the morning. But then when I went back to Clearwater, to my own home area, that which I hadn't seen before, I began to see everywhere. Why is that? It was because the veil had been removed from my eyes, and then I knew that it was necessary to move forward. When I was told by my spiritual director, you have to research this, I knew it was necessary because it was on the fringes, but it was gaining wide popularity. And here we are today. And that's what we want to do for each of you. We want to try to remove the veil from the eye so that you can see and judge for yourself. And so just walk us through quickly. You did this a few, maybe a couple of months ago. Few months ago, you walked us through the way in which you conduct your research regarding that tree and the fruit that it produces. This is helpful, friends. This is something that you can apply yourself. Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, I ask myself certain questions. First of all, I follow the scripture from Matthew about the fruit. The tree that bears good fruit can only bear good fruit. A tree, an evil tree, is only going to bear bad fruit. I look to see, okay, well, what is it? First, I want to look at what that tree is. What is it? And then I look at, where did the tree originate? In other words, I'm looking at the roots of the tree now. Where did this tree come from? What's the seed that started that tree to grow? And those two questions right there eliminate well over half of everything that I'm looking at, because you'll find out that things came from someone who has, like, they're giving alternative medicine advice, and they don't have any degree at all in any kind of medicine. So what is it? Where does it come from? Um, how is it practiced? How do people use it? Then what does the science say about it? And then what does the church say about it? So I do those 5 things, go into every single thing that I look at. And that's just been my guide. And I refer always back to that scripture, because a good tree can only produce good fruit, and a bad tree is only going to produce bad fruit. No matter how good that tree might look on the surface, look at the fruit. Look at the fruit of it. And where does it come from? What is the origin of that? And you often will find your answers right there. If it's originating in something in the occult.
Yeah.
For instance, I have a blog up there right now this week. People have written to me before about this subject, and I finally tackled it, about homeopathy and its relation to the occult. Was it divined from spirits? And what I found out, the person who wrote to me said that she had read that the founder, Samuel Hahnemann, received a lot of his information during seances.
Oh, dear.
Which he readily admitted to doing. He says, I think this is proof that it has its origin in the occult. Yes, it does. She said, what do you think about it? Well, I actually couldn't find anything that directly linked Hahnemann to getting information from seances, where he was actually given information about it. But the fact that he was a Freemason and an occultist certainly raises the question of just how much of an influence the occult had in his work. And we know that it did, because he himself said it did. He was a follower. He had a great devotion to Emanuel Swedenborg. He actually claimed that Swedenborg was his mentor. Swedenborg was a Swedish scientist, a theologian, a philosopher. He experienced these mystic dreams and trances and that, and believed he was appointed by Christ to write the real meaning of the Bible. And he also believed that he was in communication with Moses, the Apostle Paul, Blessed Virgin Mary, Martin Luther. And he taught his followers that spiritual entities were intermediaries between God and man, that God sometimes uses them to communicate with mankind. So there we have people, saying that, hey, it's okay to talk with spiritual entities. We don't need to know who they are. Just go ahead and talk with them. So this is kind of Hahnemann's background. But he's also, homeopathy is based on the pantheistic belief in a universal life force, which Hahnemann refers to as a vital force. And he's talking about a putative form of energy. This is known as the New Age God, and it's part of a pantheistic belief system. So that he relied on spirits was not something that he himself hid from the public, which is what our writer pointed out. And she was right in that. He referred to himself as a diviner of spirits. That's who he said he was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does have some links to it. It does have links to it. There's also evidence from Europe, and I dug a little bit further in this, because you know me, I don't know when to stop. It's like, okay, well, let's keep going now. Christian Medical Fellowship has a whole article about this on their site.
Excellent.
I give you a link to that in the blog, that in continental Europe, there is a definite link between homeopathy and occult. Homeopathic practitioners carry out research during seances. They do that there. They use occult practices such as the pendulum. Now, it's probably less common in certain areas of Britain than in others, but they say that these reports are definitely of concern, and that Christian homeopathic practitioners obviously should not get involved in that. My suggestion is that you don't get involved in homeopathy at all. It doesn't work. I mean, we have, and I just counted them before we went on the air. We have 16 different articles on our website on homeopathy, which will explain to you why homeopathy is useless as a medicine. There's no scientific backing to its use. So why get involved in it? Why get involved in it? If we want to use natural cures, use natural cures that come from God, not from people who are divining from spirits, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, too, as you tell this story and you share with us about this fellow, it's interesting to me how the evil one is a constant counterfeiter. excuse me, he's not creative. He cannot create, he's not God, right? But what he does is he takes the things of God and turns them on their head. So you look at spiritual entities. So he talks about, these spiritual entities can help us. Well, we talk about saints and asking for the intercession of saints. So the evil one takes that and turns it on its head and turns it into something diabolical. And even in this case, here we have, with regard to homeopathy, here we have, the beauty and the wonder of the earth that God gives to us. But we're taking that now and we're investing in it, a belief system, which is very far removed from the creative purpose for which God's given us, the beauty and the wonder of creation and the various kinds of plants and things of that nature. So, we need to be careful. We need to understand. And this is sometimes why it is difficult for people to be able to tease out, what is okay and what isn't okay. But, you're doing the research. And so, friends, I want you to get out there to our website, womenofgrace.com, access this good research. Sue mentions that there's like 16 articles on homeopathy out there. If you have friends that are involved, if you have been involved and you want to know more about it, objective research is available for you right there. You can go right to newage.womenofgrace.com, access it. You can even do search feature. We've got a search feature. You can search on specific topics. So you can put in homeopathy, and those articles will come up. In a certain way, this is, you don't have to do the research because we've done it for you. So I invite you to use it and to use it roundly. It's interesting the way in which people are looking for healing. When we're in trouble and in sorrow and pain and suffering, psychological and emotional kinds of travail, we want a quick fix. We want to resolve that as quickly as we can. Same with the physical. When we're suffering with various physical maladies and we're facing maybe major diagnoses, we want everything at our disposal to try to resolve that issue. But we cannot wander off to the left or the right. We have to stay right there, right in the center. And we've got Angie with us out there in San Antonio, Texas, Sue. And Angie's a first-time caller, has a question that has to do with healing. So it's on topic in that sense. Listening to us via Guadalupe Radio Network. Angie is a first-timer. I am ringing my bell for you, Angie. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready, but anyway, I have a quick question.
Sure.
I'm looking into this. It's a stainless steel drum. It's supposed to have healing frequency for mind and body. Plays at 432 hertz, and it plays in C major. It has 15 notes, and it has these deep, rich melodies, and it's supposed to relax you with stainless steel. My question is, I don't want to get it in anything like New Agey, but I'm interested because it says that it relaxes you, if you have stress in your life or whatnot. So I just want to make sure it's okay.
Well, I'm glad you called, Angie. So, Sue, I'm going to turn you loose on Angie's question.
Yeah, it's definitely New Age. The whole concept of healing frequencies, the 432, there's actually other numbers too of megahertz that they claim are healing, and they are not. There is absolutely nothing that's ever been proven, no evidence that it can heal or treat any medical condition. But music does calm you. Music is calming. You just don't need to have a special drum to do that.
Yeah, it's investing in a drum, a power that drum doesn't have. Right. So I want you to stay with us, though, Angie, because we've got a couple of suggestions for you. We'll be sharing them with you on the other side of the break, so hang on there. We're inviting you to give us a call, too, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986 is the way that you can join us right here on Women of Grace Live, where we love to have that holy conversation with you. Available for you, too, out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Use the chat feature. Let us know if you're a first-timer. We'll ring our bell. Coming right back. Stay tuned.
Hey, this is Michael O'Neill, the Miracle Hunter. I'll be delving into the fascinating world of miracles and taking you on a hunt that explores the greatest mysteries and marvels of the Catholic Church. I'll be examining what constitutes a miracle, how miracles are investigated and approved, and the role they play in the lives of the faithful. We'll look at the miracles of the Gospels and early Christianity, considering the claims of the miraculous in our own modern age.
The Miracle Hunter, Saturday at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
This is Life Issues with Brad Mattis, president of Life Issues Institute.
Pew Research Center released an explosive poll showing 58% of blacks believe the government uses birth control and abortion to keep the black population small. They're right. Planned Parenthood's founder, Margaret Sanger's effort to eliminate the black population was called the Negro Project. The research also showed 62% believe government policies encourage single motherhood among black women to eliminate the need for black men in the household. When publishing their findings, Pew Research called blacks' feeling on the matter racial conspiracy theories. The outrage must have been swift. Pew quickly edited its research to eliminate this wording, now calling it mistrust of blacks. Get the original version at lifeissues.org.
Follow us on social media at Life Issues Institute.
EWTN Radio brings you the Holy Rosary twice each day for over 25 years. Tune in every morning at 5:30 Eastern for Mother Angelica and every evening at 9:30 Eastern for Father Benedict Rochelle, only on EWTN Radio.
Hi, this is Dr. David Anders. Do you have questions about the Catholic faith? Get the answers on Call to Communion, coming up this afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
The Women of Grace phone lines are open. 1-833-288-EWTN. 1-833-288-3986.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams. Very happy to be with you today on this Wacky Wednesday. We talk about the weird and the wacky on Wednesdays with Sue Brinkman. We try to uncover some of the diabolical activities that make up the New Age movement so that you are not caught unaware. Angie is with us from San Antonio, Texas, listening to us via Guadalupe Radio Network. She's a first-time caller. She called in asking a question about a steel drum that claims a healing frequency, and is that New Age? And Sue answered and said, yes, it's absolutely New Age. And Angie, I asked you to stay on the phone with us on the air so that we could continue to give you some insight a little bit more deeply than we did when we were rushed to go to break there, and also to offer some suggestions to you. So go ahead, Sue.
Say that actually, Angie, to listen to music, and I think we all know this, that can be very soothing and very calming. That's fine. But as far as attaching any mystical type of effect from the frequency of the music, that is something that's really been pretty much made up by the New Age. This is a construct of the New Age. There's all different frequencies. The 396 it supposedly liberates your guilt and fear. 417 that undoes situations, facilitates change. 852 returning you to your spiritual order. They have all kinds of things. It's basically all just a construct of the New Age. There have been studies done on these frequencies, a lot of them. But unfortunately, the studies are very small. The cohorts are too small to draw really any good conclusions from it. And even the authors of the research said they would need to do a whole lot more research on it. And this was particularly pertaining to the Tibetan singing bowls, which we have blogs about on our website that explain the singing bowls, which is similar, I guess, to the drums. There's only the tapping on the side of the bowls. But there really is no evidence that this works. Now, whether or not there's an occult connection here, I don't see anything like that in there. It's just plain New Age woo is really what it is. It's not really going to do what it does. And if, it saves people, I think, the consumer, from spending money on things that they really don't need to spend their money on. Because I'll tell you, the marketing packages for this would convince just about anybody to buy it. They're very good marketing on this stuff. State of the art, graphics and that sort of thing. So, but as far as music, Gregorian chant, I find to be very relaxing. just extremely relaxing Gregorian chant. Certain kinds of music. Some people like classical music for that reason. It just calms them down. And that's fine. It has nothing to do with these new age healing frequencies. You want to stay away from that kind of stuff because first of all, it's not true. It's not going to help you at all. And second of all, it's just kind of opening you up to other influences, I think, where you're turning away from God and his ability to calm you and soothe you. I mean, what's the best way to soothe yourself really is to be with God in prayer.
Yes.
But at least that is for me. That's just my go-to when I'm upset. I go right to prayer. So hopefully, Angie, that gives you some ideas about what you can do. And about that drum, there's more than likely there's nothing to the claims that they're making.
Great. So, Angie, do you have any further questions for Sue on that issue?
I do not. It is pretty expensive too, so that saved me from an expense I don't need. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting myself into something that I would regret later on, or open windows or doors or whatever. But thank you so much for the explanation, and thanks again.
Well, you're so welcome, Angie, and you're a smart girl there. And but try Gregorian chant. I love Gregorian chant, and most Gregorian chant, I would probably, it's all Gregorian chant, true Gregorian chant, is really religious in its nature. We're singing it's hymns of the faith in Latin, Holy Sacrifice of the Mass in Latin. We're just kind of enveloping ourselves in the power of heaven in listening to Gregorian chant. So that might accomplish what it is that you're looking for, as opposed to leading you in a direction that, well, as you're saying, could take you down a path you don't want to go. Thanks for your call, Angie. It was a really good one. Enjoyed it so very much. Let's go to Cleveland. Cleveland is in Maryland today, listening to us again through Guadalupe Radio Network. Good morning to you, Cleveland.
Hello.
Hey, you're on the air. You're here.
Yes. Yes. I have a question for for Sue Brinkman. It's about, I do a lot of stretching. I'm known for my flexibility, and it's important for me to stay flexible at my age, because I'm in my 60s now. But I try not to turn it into yoga. And when I'm seeing all these stretches on the internet or on pictures, they look so identical. You don't know which one is which. Even when you're doing leg splits, like gymnastics doing leg splits, even yoga is splits also. So my question is, how do I know if I'm doing yoga or not doing yoga? Because the exercises and the stretches look so identical.
Right. That's such a good question. And we get that question all the time. I'm actually talking with a great friend of our ministry, Linda Carl, who was a former yoga teacher. She's actually in the process of writing a book on yoga, and she does have a little section in the back that lists that and says that these certain things that look like yoga, stretching exercises, really aren't yoga. They actually are derived from gymnastics, so they're perfectly fine to use. And some of the ones she suggests are the runner stretch, the standing forward stretch, the seated forward bend, the plank. The plank is a gymnastic move. That's not yoga. Reverse plank, standing side stretches. So there's a lot of stuff that looks like yoga that really isn't yoga. What you want to stay away from are some of the named things like the sun salutation, the warrior pose, the cobra, the lotus. These are the positions that really have a direct association with the Hindu god. But if you're not in a yoga class, if you're just stretching your body at home, that is not yoga. That's not yoga. If you're just stretching and just doing whatever stretches you like to do, just because they look like yoga doesn't mean that they're yoga. They're not. And like I said, the body can only move in so many different ways, and not all the ways that it moves are yoga. But yoga has a tendency to try to overtake everything. Like you can't wear stretch pants without them being yoga pants. And you can't use an exercise mat. They're all yoga mats now, if you've noticed. So it has a way of taking over everything, but it's not. And you can go to websites and just find non-yoga stretches, and you'll come up with plenty of different stretches. Many of them look exactly like the yoga stretches, but because those particular stretches are derived from gymnastics and not from yoga. So there is a way to get around that that issue. And I think, and I've actually talked to Linda about doing something with her on this particular subject because we get so many of these questions. It's a very good question. How do you know what you're doing? But when you're not in a yoga class and you're just doing some stretches at home that weren't taught to you in a yoga class, these are just stretches that you learned elsewhere or whatever, you're not doing yoga. You are not doing yoga. So I wouldn't worry about that. As I said, many of them are gymnastic stretches. And you can even just Google in stretches gymnastics, and you'll come up with plenty of stretches that you can do that have no association at all with yoga, except that they might look similar.
Does that help you, Cleveland? Cleveland? Oh, I'm not sure Cleveland's with us still. Okay, well, thank you very much for that very good question, Cleveland. And I think that clears up a lot of concerns that others might have out there too, Sue. It's a very good question. And I think we have to be very, very careful by the same token. You know, as you say, yoga tends to take over everything. And that's what gets people confused, because oftentimes things are named yoga that aren't yoga. And sometimes things that are yoga are not named yoga. And sometimes it's a mix of the two kinds of things when you go to work out at a gym, you know, and you're in a class of some nature. So it's always good to investigate that a little bit more deeply and to ask the presenter, you know, let's talk about this. What is this about? What comprises these various exercises and techniques that you're teaching us? Let's get to Ruth. Ruth is out there in South Dakota today, listening to us via Siouxland Catholic Radio. I'm going to be coming that way in the very near future, friends. So that's Ruth in South Dakota. Hey, Ruth, how are you?
I am good, but actually I'm in Iowa.
Oh, you're in Iowa. Okay, well, thank you very much for letting me know. It says South Dakota, but I'm glad you're in Iowa.
Yeah. I had a question regarding, am I online?
You're on the air.
Okay. So you look up the definition, and then when people start doing research, the definition of pharmaceutical is to practice witchcraft or use medicine, according to the American Dictionary of the English language. And I think sometimes when we turn to alternative, it's because of experiences that we have had. For example, medicine you take and then it's black box warning that the side effects are more severe than what they thought they were. So trusting the science. If you could explain that again, how you determine what is good science.
Okay, so very good. Sue, go ahead.
The definition of pharmaceutical that I'm finding does not have anything about witchcraft in it. It's relating to medicinal drugs for their prescription use or sale. Now, sometimes people will say that pharmaceuticals are derived from alchemy, but alchemy is a whole different thing. That was really in medieval times. Alchemy was used to concoct drugs, and these drugs were meant to, you know, they mix things together like potions and stuff, and they were meant to extend life or, you know, to be a poison to people and that sort of thing. As far as the science is concerned, you know, Catholics believe that of the union between faith and reason. So it wouldn't be correct to throw out all science just because of, you know, some drugs that have bad side effects for that. Faith is above science. We know it's above science, but the Catechism teaches that there can never be any real discrepancy between faith and reason. And it goes on to say that the same God who reveals mysteries and infuses faith has bestowed the light of reason on the human mind. God cannot deny himself, nor can truth ever contradict truth. So consequently, all methodical scientific research in all branches, provided it's carried out in a scientific manner, does not override moral laws and doesn't morally, can never conflict with the faith. Because the things of the world and the things of faith derive from the same God. In other words, science is a gift from God. It may be abused in some cases, but science in itself is a gift from God. It shouldn't be tossed out categorically because of some bad experiences. All drugs, including, and these are not drugs, these would be alternatives, such as supplements and that, they all have bad side effects. All of them have side effects. Either pharmaceuticals or natural drugs all have the same thing. And what happens in pharmaceuticals when they're given out to people, what they study is, okay, what's the benefit and what are the side effects, and which one outweighs the other. If the benefits are much, much better than the side effects of then it's a marketable drug. So that's how they do it. Unfortunately, in alternatives, they don't have any of those kind of regulations. So you don't really know what you're ingesting. Our website has tons of information on alternatives that have gone bad and have hurt a lot of people, especially in the area of supplements, because they're not regulated at all. So I see what your question is there, and it's a very good one. But I would always look to this science to get the scientific, what exactly is this that we're talking about here according to science, and what is it according to the practitioners of it, and to see if those two things jive, which they usually don't. In the case of alternatives, they really do not. Alternative medicine, I shouldn't even use the word medicine because they're not medicines. They're not alternatives to medicine. They're untested, or they failed to be proven. That's what an alternative is. They really need to step up to the plate and submit their work and their products to objective scientific testing. Not that, and we can't be saying, throw these conspiracy theories around and say, oh, well, they're just going to reject them because the pharmaceutical industry wants to make money. These are all theories that have been put forth by New Agers. They really have. And of course, this pharmaceutical industry does have a lot of its own scandals that go along with it, but many of that has been blown way out of proportion to the point that now you have people who aren't using pharmaceuticals who need them to keep them alive, and they're not using them. And our church, that is not church teaching. Our church teaching is that you are to use ordinary means, meaning tested by science. You are morally obligated to do that in anything that is contagious or life-threatening. See, a lot of people don't know that I didn't either until I started, researching all this stuff. Because otherwise you're getting involved in what they call superstitious, what our church calls superstitious medicine that really hasn't been proven to be medicine. So what you're doing is putting your faith in something that isn't there, like almost like a good luck charm or a rabbit's foot.
Yeah.
If it's hasn't been tested and you don't know that it works, you shouldn't be using it for anything contagious or life-threatening.
Yeah. And I just want to comment a little bit upon on the root of the word pharmaceutical. Ruth, I am fascinated by words. I just love words. I love language. I love writing. I love all of those things. And I oftentimes like to dig deeply into the etymology of a word and where it comes from. And there is it's an interesting thing with regard to the word pharmaceutical. Or it comes from the Greek pharmakeia, and that referred to the practice of the druggist. But the root of that word is pharmakon. And what that means is, and it's a double-edged sword. This article that I'm looking at says it's a double-edged sword because pharmakon means a plant or an herb that could be used either for healing or for harmful purposes. So when we look at that, we see something very interesting with regard to this situation, because that is true of all medication, isn't it? It can be used for good or it can be used for ill. We take a look at drugs, for example. A drug can be used to kill pain for a period of time, or it can be abused and turn into an addiction. I'm thinking of something that St. John Paul II said with regard to technology. And he said, technology is morally neutral. It's neither right nor wrong. It's the use of it that makes it right or wrong. And I would say that distinction is a good one that applies to pharmaceuticals. It's the use of them. How are they being used? Now, the fact of the matter is, yes, there are side effects. There are side effects to eating food. If we overeat, we're going to get sick. If we eat too much of a certain kind of food, not enough of another kind of food, we're going to get sick. So this is where the gift of reason that God's endowed us with, which is one of the ways in which we image him, comes into good play. That's what you're suggesting, Sue. We've got to use our reason. So, and using our reason helps us to ferret out, okay, is the benefit of this greater than the side effect? And that can vary by person. One person can take a drug that another person can't take. I'll give you a good example. There's a lot of antibiotics, that are quite strong in nature, and people with gastrointestinal issues cannot take them. Erythromycin is one. So when you take erythromycin, they'll tell you, take this with food because it can irritate the stomach. But the fact is, if you take it with food, then the benefit of that antibiotic is going to far outweigh the potential negative of it. So, I think we can have a tendency, and I warn myself against this all the time, of just, jumping into the fray and looking at something and saying, well, okay, so here's the root and that. But, we have to be very, very careful in terms of how it is that we arrive at a conclusion, employing all of the gifts that God's given to us, as well as the guidance and direction of Holy Mother Church, which is what you're underscoring, Sue, in what the church teaches with regard to all of these kinds of remedies and treatments.
Right. We need to be able to do that. And I myself am a very big supplement user. I almost, at this point, I use so many supplements, I almost need to pack an extra suitcase when I travel to carry all my supplements with me. So, I like to use these things. And let me tell you something, I read up on every single one of them. Mm-hmm. And the only ones in there are things that have actual proof that they work. I don't care what the website says that's selling it to me. I go around and I look it up on medical sites and that. What does this particular thing actually do? So yeah, you do, like you said, you have to use your reason and be careful about all the different conspiracy things that are out there, because like I said, a lot of them are constructs of the New Age. I do devote a whole chapter to this in my book, Learn to Discern Compendium, on that and the different ways that New Agers are trying to build up what has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yes. So that industry is just as greedy as they're getting me not quite at the same height, but they're getting there as other pharmaceuticals. So you just got to be careful. We have to be careful as the consumers. We have to use our minds.
Absolutely. Ruth, thank you. It was an excellent question. We're getting all kinds of really good questions today, Sue, and I think we have time to squeeze Bob in here. Bob is there in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, listening to us via the EWTN app. Hey, Bob, thanks for joining us today. What's your question?
Sure. It's actually not a question. It's just some dates that I compiled. And they refer to October, the month of the Rosary. I'll try to be as succinct as possible. October 13, 1916, New York City, first birth control clinic opens by Margaret Sanger. Mm. October 13th, you're familiar with, in 1917, Fatima, Portugal. Mary has a miracle of the sun, terrifying people. And she also goes under, not then, but she has the title of the Immaculate Conception, which could well be related to her angst about the October 13th, 1916. Also, a few more quick dates. I can flesh them out in detail, but I won't. But October 18th, October has been allowed for these things to happen because so many people are playing the Rosary, and it's God's mercy to allow us to avert them. October 18th, 1920, Russia allows the first legalized abortion in the world in modern countries. October 13th, 1962, secret U.S. U-2 flight catches pictures of mid-range ballistic missiles in Cuba. October 13th again. And it prompted the 13 days of October, also called the Missiles of October.
Now, Bob, we're into the last minute. I'm just letting you know.
Okay. President Kennedy resolved that. October 13th, 1973, Israeli President Golda Meir called for President Richardson aid to the Israeli defense.
And we're going to have to leave it there, Bob, because we're right down to the last minute. But this is fascinating stuff. Yeah. Would love for you to send it to us. Just send it to Women of Grace at EWTN.com. It's fascinating. Sue, it's been great being with you today. Looking forward to seeing you shortly.
Yes.
In the not too distant future. And we can be with all of you too. Get out there, register. There's still time to join us for our Women of Grace retreat at Malvern. It's at our website, womenofgrace.com. God bless all of you now. Bye-bye.
One of the reasons we should go to Mass is because if you